And then imagine, and this might be easier, imagine how this would be for your child. Or maybe it's not easier. If you knew and they knew that their worth were not dependent on anything they did, how would that be for your child? And again, anything where it's problematic, you hear yourself saying, that won't work. Notice that we're interested in those responses. And maybe today, and definitely in our course, we get to respond to individual misalignments and suss out sustainable and reasonable adjustments.
Any thoughts about how that would be, how it would feel in your body to walk around this earth thinking, I'm totally worthy and I don't need to be productive in order to be worthy? Not that I don't want to be productive, but it's not tied to my worth. Like, what would that be? Yeah, it's difficult to relate to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
But if you look around your environment right now, wherever you are, if there's a tree anywhere in your environment, what a great example of something that just is itself and we value it and it isn't trying to do anything. It's just treeing. And we're humans and we're just being. And our worth is not unlike the tree. It is because we exist that we are worthy. But that is not the information typically that we are raised with. And it isn't reflected in our society very often. So what does it feel like? What does it feel like that, again, that feeling to imagine that for yourself? Just take that note. If it feels inaccessible, or if you're curious about it, maybe, or excited even. And you're welcome to share if you like. It's difficult to relate. Yeah. This is going to scroll down. I don't know if it's right there.
And we have another.
Okay. I don't know what it says at the end.
This.
Great. And how would it be to think this way about your child? To exude this idea that they are inherently worthy? How would it be for you? How would it feel to think this way? Take this approach to your child, to exude this idea, to give them the idea and the experience that they are inherently worthy.
Mm-hmm. So for the first question, Sally's is exciting and bewildering.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Muniba said it's difficult to relate, which I think probably plenty of us, including myself, can relate to.
Yeah.
It's hard to just be around my kids. She so often needs something from me.
Mm-hmm.
For my child, it would give them a great sense of security. Yeah. We can relate to this. If someone were to exude to us, the idea that we're inherently worthy, that sense of security could be our very own.
And I think a lot of people have that experience that their children are just constantly needy, needy, needy. And it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg experience or an unwinding. Like, how do you reduce that feeling of need? And I don't know the child, but I'm gonna just guess that it might be from just feeling anxiety and like something's not right and I just need something to make me feel better. And then boom, you're totally worthy. Your child is totally worthy. Right there, the anxiety goes down. And how do you cultivate that feeling? It's like rewiring of the brain. It takes a lot of practice.
It takes practice and it takes time. And the ease that results of it comes pretty quickly once it starts, and it builds and it builds. Another one.
We've got some good questions.
It would take a lot of pressure off of all of us. Future casting the worst case scenario is surely causing so many struggles for our family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How would I convey this? Is a great question. How would I convey this? I feel like she has all the attention we are capable of giving. So you're asking how you would convey this or exude this idea that your child is inherently worthy.
And I can see how you would make the leap to
Mm-hmm.
it's by giving them attention.
Mm.
And we'll let's continue to look through these slides
Mm-hmm.
and see if you might have other ideas of ways that you would convey this that don't necessarily have to do with your
Mm-hmm.
continued focus on your child.
Mm-hmm. It would make me nervous for my child because of what the outside
Yes.
world
Ding,
is.
ding, 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 ding.
Yes,
Totally.
of course.
Yes,
Of
yes, yes.
course.
Yeah.
And part of the answer to the question, we're going to continue to answer it, but how to convey it, some of that shift into the hunter-gatherer practices is inherently delivering of that sense of you are worthy. When the child feels that
Mhm.
they are met in their nature, their worth is affirmed in that alone.
But yeah, giving your child permission to just think that they're perfectly okay the way they are without complying to society's demands is quite frightening,
Yeah.
especially if you have a Black boy.
Mhm. One of the big differences between hunter-gatherers and weird society is close
Yes.
community, not small nuclear families or single-parent families. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And that's what we're looking at right now with so many families I work with. One of the what comes up a lot is who are the people who you feel free and welcome to connect with, and how do you make connections so that when you meet that moment of there needing to be other eyes and other minds assisting and supporting your child, you have an answer, you have a response.
Hmm.
And this is a big difference. And Betty and I are interested in that. And our part of our work with Children in Bloom is to make a contribution to some of those connections, and that this seminar is a way to begin with that. Because now here you are together, right?
Hmm.
Tanner was diagnosed with autism when he was 4 years old. The first 10 years were really, really hard. He always probably was feeling stress and frustration from me because I was constantly trying to fix him, to find the right therapy, to find the right teacher, to find the right school. And when I finally started to realize that what he really needed from me was just to love him and just to support him and let him just be who he was, he just made this complete turnaround, and all this personality that we had not seen prior to that just started coming out. And just to think about him even being able to conceptualize going on a date is just so far beyond anything we ever thought he could do.
That's Nikki, Tanner's mom from Love on the Spectrum. So just think about, what if you just could accept and allow your child to be a child and make the mistakes that they make and see their mistakes as beautiful because you see them tripping and falling towards growth.
Um, Now into some joy inhibiting paradigm. Children must be corrected. We need to fix their behavior. So this mindset, as you can imagine, for one, places a lot of responsibility and something that can, a type of even a burden that can result in frustration. It requires energy, it requires creativity, ideas, and we meet a lot of parents that these are the questions they're coming with initially is, how do I fix this problem? So this initial thought that a child needs to be fixed is the beginning of this challenge. Why do children need to be fixed might be a question that each of us asks ourselves from time to time. Why don't I know how to fix them? And what happens is we perceive our child or ourselves as never being enough. just can't quite get to where they're supposed to be. We can't quite get to where we're supposed to be as adults, as parents, as caregivers. And that is a draining mindset. It is taxing for a child. It is taxing for a family to experience trying to reach a goal that is always moving further and further away with all the work that you put into it. How does this impact? Now, what we're going to see are these are the three required components for happiness here. So these next three you're going to see, this is what children and people require in order to be happy. So how does this never enough thinking, this never enough approach impact your child's sense of connectedness, right? Just giving that a moment. If your child perceives themselves to just not ever be meeting your expectations, that you're always wanting to change them into someone other than who they are, have them do something other than what they might naturally do. How would this impact your connection, their sense of being connected with you? How might this impact your child's sense of competence? Their sense that they can do things, that they're capable, they're able. When they are getting feedback that something isn't enough, change needs to happen, and you're trying to fix it. And how might this impact your child's sense of autonomy as they explore and do developmentally appropriate things? And then sometimes we call parents the great interrupters. Children are in sort of perfect developmental moments, and parents have concerns, real societally informed concerns. So we pop in, caregivers pop in to try to make adjustments and shift trajectories of children while they're in perfect developmental exploration. So they get this idea that the way they do things isn't good enough. And that freedom that guides them, that inner wisdom and freedom that children are born for, is disrupted in those moments.